Welcome to Voices of the Writers. I'm your host, Adam Scull, bringing you a new dimension of poetry readings, songwriters, vignettes, and stories with music and sounds for the Eat, Sleep, Write podcast. Discover new writers. Learn about their huge body of work on Eat, Sleep, Write. SeaStar by Jesse Bishop Powell. Read by Adam Scull. If not for the starfish, Jolene would never have found the cave. I hate that fucking starfish, she muttered. SeaStar. In Jolene's mind, her mother corrected her. Whatever. I wish I'd let it dry up on the damn beach. No, that wasn't true. Even in her current agitated state, she couldn't go that far. What she did wish was that she hadn't been so overzealous with her rescue. She could have carried the thing to the surf to be washed to safety. How many times have I told you to take care of yourself first? You can't help anybody dead. Thanks bunches, Mom. As the tide rose, jolting and sloshing Jolene closer to the rock ceiling, she saw her mother's point. Too bad you won't get the satisfaction of knowing you were right. Focus. Cool it. Jolene was a runner, a biker, a swimmer, a boxer, a fiend for CrossFit and Pilates. She got off on exercise and loved her muscular calves and biceps. She dressed to flatter them. Oh, she felt the eyes, heard the whispers. Why is she wearing a sleeveless mini? She looks like a man. You'd think she'd want to hide that arm flab, but those words had no power. It's not flab, it's muscle, she sometimes said, then struck a weightlifter pose that left them laughing. And I must be the most gorgeous man on the planet. She found the starfish, SeaStar. Yes, Mother. In her post-run cool-down. Doubtless, it had been there when she went out, because the inlet only had a strip of sand, except during low tide, and she followed the same route both ways. But she'd been lost in her music on her first pass, pacing herself. This was marathon prep, and she needed to push exactly hard enough on exactly the right days. So she only noticed the beach's dying occupant on her way home, when her playlist had run out, and she had long since moved past the zenith of her runner's high. A glance to the ocean, and she knew the SeaStar had been exposed for some time. That it hadn't already dried out was a miracle in and of itself. When she picked it up, Jolene realized it wasn't dead. The arms flailed to life, and warm fluid seeped onto her hand. Easy there, she told it. Take it easy. A phone search confirmed her opinion. The tide was getting ready to turn. She didn't want to return the poor thing only to have it sucked back to the brink with the incoming water. Here, let me help you. Marathon prep or no, a quick dip sounded just about like damn nirvana. Nobody would be along to see her at this hour of the morning, particularly not in this scraggly inlet where few good shells ever washed ashore between the two rocky outcrops. She set the starfish down long enough to strip to her skivvies, producing another 5-armed Scrabble. Rest a minute, I'll get you there. She tucked her shirt and shorts on an overhead rock. The phone and earbuds carefully nestled in their armband atop the pile. I've got time enough before the water gets here. Now, let's take you home. Jolene swam out past the rocks, an awkward, one-handed affair made more difficult by the creature's enthusiasm to escape. I'm trying to be gentle here, she reassured it as it coated her with more fluid. I'm helping you. She was rewarded with a sticky gush. I always thought you guys gave off goo slowly. This one was vomiting everywhere. Yuck. But the job was worth it. The rising sun, rapidly burning off the morning fog, seemed to glint off the waving arms as they sank. She dove joyfully, filled her eyes with stinging salt water as she followed the starfish's progress a little way more. It seemed like a cartoon of a star falling from the sky. No, not a fish at all. I get it, Mom. SeaStar. I've got to swim, she said underwater, as if the thing could hear her. That beach gets mighty small, mighty fast. And sometimes it vanishes altogether. Jolene suddenly realized her dip had been a dangerous idea. She surfaced nearer to those rocks than she expected. Too near. The tide was coming in fast. Lucky I didn't get caught in a rip, she grumped. What the hell was I thinking? That was when she saw the cave. From a distance, it had always looked like a shadow among the boulders. But this close and from this angle, it was not only visible and open, but a light from within. My God, Jolene turned her breaststroke away from safety and towards the gap. My God, the bioluminescence inside staggered her, or would have if she hadn't been treading water. She spun circles trying to take in the glow reflected off the ceiling and walls. Around her, beneath her, stretching away to invisibility, 1,000 sea stars shone green. Thinking of the one she had so recently released, she nodded. It wasn't reflecting. She had never seen such a thing. Not in summer chasing lightning bugs, not in Mammoth Cave as a girl, when the glowing crickets and fish let her gape-jawed. Those things were glass compared to these diamonds. No, not diamonds, emeralds. Extraordinary emeralds. She burned her eyes again, diving to scrutinize them. Her legs forgot to be tired, and she explored, a child in a sea of wonder. Surely no one had ever seen this. Surely she had stumbled into an ecosystem left accidentally undisturbed for millennia. By the time she recovered her wits, the entrance had long since vanished. The roof had been far overhead then. It was closer now. Too close. Oh shit. Where's the door? In an instant, her amazement turned to terror. Water sucked her first one way and then another, waves heaving her body. I have to go now. She dove and dove again, looking for the hole between the rocks, but she couldn't find it. Help, she screamed. I'm drowning. Get me out of here. But of course, no one heard her. No one came. And she wasn't drowning. Not exactly. Not yet. Drowning people often couldn't cry for help. She was still strong, still afloat, in spite of her panic. Cool it. Calm down. Think. What did it look like in here? Her mind conjured up instead the beach outside. Useless. She tried again, and this time wondered if her phone and clothes were high enough, if this would be a beach swallower. In here, she commanded herself. What did it look like in here? The walls were identical, every row of starfish exactly like the last. With a whimper, she apprehended that if she left this place the way she'd come in, it would be in a diver's net. Or if she did somehow escape alive, she'd be in trouble with the rough waves, high tide, and sharp rocks. No! This time, the panic hit hard, without even a shred of accompanying rationality. She dove wide-eyed and surfaced the same way, throwing herself at the ceiling only to flip over and kick once more, exhaustion consuming her with horrific speed. She could no longer fight the ripping waves. They didn't suck or drag her anymore. Now they flung her against the walls, and it was all she could do to flounder to the surface, gulping while she tried to shield her head when she smacked stone. "Help me," she sobbed. "Help me, help me, help me." Still, no one heard her. Then someone did. "Easy there. Take it easy." The voice was barely audible. It seemed like an echo of her own. She whipped in a circle. "Who said that? Where are you? Please, help me." "Easy now, easy," it repeated. Something brushed the back of her neck, and she spun again, scrabbling instinctively against her own skin. "Easy, easy, easy. Where are you? Help me." "Here." Jolene looked down. The starfish had detached from the walls. They floated upward, seizing her as they passed, encasing her arms, legs, and torso, their weight dragging her like the current. "Please, what are you doing? I'm drowning." Hallucinating. This is what happens before the end. Brain tricks. "I don't want to be a starfish forever. I want to live." Easy, gentle. And then her head slammed against the wall. When she came around, she could barely move. Breathing was possible only as a slow, steady rhythm. It took her an inordinate amount of time to figure out she wasn't dead, and quite a bit longer than that to wonder why she thought she ought to be. Water engulfed her, its cacophonous din ricocheting and echoing like thunder. I can only breathe underwater in dreams. And then memory flooded back with the ocean. A wave washed over her face, and her limbs and muscles went wild. Except they didn't. She choked. She cracked her head again, thrashing her neck, but her arms and legs didn't move. Then her mouth was clear, and she gasped and spat, her heaving coughs restricted by tight bonds. She was paralyzed. No, not paralyzed, trapped. She felt her muscles give and take, but she was bound tightly to the smooth rock. "Please," she moaned, "help me." "Helping," whispered 1,000 voices. "Please, I'm not a starfish. I don't want to be helpless forever." Susurrating laughter answered her. "No, no, not a starfish." "But what about a SeaStar?" Jolene didn't dare voice the question. Another wave flooded over her. This time she held her breath until it passed. "Rest," the voices sighed. "Swim soon, soon, soon. Easy, now, easy." Because she had no other choice, Jolene forced her body into stillness. The woozy feeling was wearing off, and her knowledge was catching up to her memory. I should be heading for hypothermia by now, but I'm not. Oh God, I'm not. The lightning bugs and cave crickets had all been cold, their light mere illumination. But each SeaStar emitted heat, and the little bits of warmth collected her in a blanket. She looked around, carefully this time, and realized she was at the roof of the cavern, held in place not, as she had believed, by a greenish net, but by the starfish coating her body, plastering her with their glowing emerald sap. When combined with the sheer force of their numbers, it was enough. It held her still, as long as she didn't fight, because the balance was delicate. Each SeaStar's sap really only designed to hold one. They were not transforming her. They were centering her, protecting her until the door became visible once more. The water seemed to have crested. It repeatedly splashed her face, but it only took her all the way under 2 more times. She began oozing down the wall, her companions descending with the tide. The salt puckered her lips. She was not drowning. Here in the cave, she was not drowning. Her aching head cleared a little more. Assuming she hadn't brained herself too badly, she would leave under her own steam, not in a diver's net, after all. "Thank you," she whispered, trying not to twitch. trying not to sob.